Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out the Captain Marvel Omnibus, so without further ado, let's take a look at this book. Here is the cover of the book, and I really enjoy the way this one looks. I think it might be helpful to have this white border framing it. I think that makes it look a lot sleeker than some of the other Marvel omnibuses. Not that those don't look good, but this one really knocked out of the park, I think. And here is the spine of the book, which also looks very sleek. And here is the back of the book, which says higher, further, faster, more. And then we have this awesome image of Captain Marvel. So first of all, this omnibus collects Captain Marvel, the 2012 series, issue 1 through 17, Captain Marvel, the 2014 series, number 1 through 15, Avengers, The Enemy Within, Avengers Assemble, number 16 through 19, Avenging Spider-Man, number 9 and 10, and Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, number 1 through 4. So this isn't the first time that I've read Captain Marvel comics, but the ones that I have read are sort of those original Captain Marvel comics when she was still Miss Marvel and are much older, and I think I read it for a class assignment and I wrote like an essay on it back when I was in college. But this is my introduction to a modern day run on Captain Marvel that is specifically focused on Carol Danvers. And this is also my introduction to the writing of Kelly Sue DeConnick. And DeConnick's work on Captain Marvel is pretty acclaimed. It's praised for, the very strong characterization that's in here, the feminist themes in here, and there's a lot of great female relationships and friendships and mentorships going on in here that is also nice to see. I think I've said this in a few videos now, but I think a lot of comics have moved past having sort of a supporting cast within their books of people that are not also superheroes and have their own books and established identities and whatnot. But DeConnick in this run uses a lot of characters and relationships to sort of flesh out Carol Danvers. What happens is it's just a really clever usage of the character's background with either, the Avengers and superhero stuff or in the military, that lifestyle, to make her feel like a real person who's lived a whole life. And I'm pretty sure this interpretation of Carol Danvers helped pave the path for the actual MCU movie Captain Marvel, and they borrowed some of what worked in here for that movie. And I hope that's something they continue to do, because I think if they continue to follow the trajectory of what they're trying to do in their movie based on this, then we could see Captain Marvel go to some really interesting places and have some really interesting character moments as well. Because she actually is a really fascinating character. I guess the other place I kind of know her from is the Uncanny X-Men book when, she is inhabiting Rogue's body and all that, which was also a really fun exploration. But in here, a lot of it was about, her self-discovery, her self-empowerment, and just the character in a way felt very, very relatable, more so than I've seen in any other versions of her. I think sometimes a problem that I have with a character like Iron Man, specifically in the comics, is that he will come across as way, way too arrogant in a way that makes me feel just annoyed by him more so than any kind of interest, even though there are deeper layers to the character and nuances, but I feel like sometimes writers don't know how to approach that accurately. And I mention that because on the flip side, in this particular omnibus and this particular run by Kelly Sue DeConnick, Carol is super stubborn and she can be really frustrating at times, but there's always intention behind it and it always makes sense. I almost want to qualify it as like this stubborn nobility. Like she just has to be able to save everyone. She has to be able to do what she's capable of doing, and nothing's going to get in her way. And if someone tells her to stop, she's going to say, "What for?" and keep going. And at times that highlights the strength of the character, and at other times it also comes back and it bites her in the butt. And so part of her journey is learning to temper those things as well. I honestly think my favorite storyline in here is one that focused on this really interesting concept of Carol having this mass in her brain that was at threat of hemorrhaging, and her doctor was basically like, blah blah, medical jumbo, hey, you can't fly right now. If you fly, you will damage yourself critically. And Carol's response to that is, but hey, I have a healing factor. If I fly and I do end up getting a brain hemorrhage, well, the brain tissue is going to grow back anyway, to which the doctor points out something really fascinating that I hadn't thought about before in the context of comics and superhero physiology, I guess, is that they were saying, well, yeah, the brain tissue will grow back, but it's not going to grow back with the memories you had. It's just going to be like blank slate brain tissue. So yes, you'll be fine at the end of the day, but you also might not be you. So really, do not fly. And that creates a lot of problems for Carol Danvers, a character who, flies around a lot and has a lot of fights that are kind of predicated on flying. So it's something that's really fascinating to burden a character like Carol Danvers, who is really stubborn and does not want to slow down for a second and really, try to heal, try to figure it out, because she's got so much going on and she has so much responsibility on her back. That part was just immensely enjoyable for me and just fascinating, really. By the way, it's also so funny reading this run focused on Captain Marvel compared to the very old original one that I read, because what happens in that older one is that even in some of her own stories, Captain Marvel becomes the damsel in distress, which seems like really weird for, happening in your own book, but none of that's here. And like I said, there's obviously a clear, more feminist take in this book, and it's actually interesting if you're somebody who likes analyzing comics like I do, and probably a lot of you do who visit this channel, because there are different interpretations of what the patriarchy are, and they use metaphors in a galactic sense, in a space sense, and they use metaphors that are more down here on Earth, and it's just fun to see how they do that in the book and what message they're trying to put across. Another thing that I kind of touched on that is enjoyable is that Carol Danvers has a wide history with the Avengers, so a lot of the characters we know and love that she interacts with, she already has a pre-established relationship with them. One that I particularly enjoyed in this book was her with Spider-Man. There's 2 issues in here that are Avenging Spider-Man issues, and it's a fun little story with this kind of character whose design reminded me of Hope Summers, but they're basically a Robin Hood type, and I don't want to spoil, kind of the reveal of it all, but it was kind of just a fun little story, an interlude in the book before we get on to some other things. But I mean, pretty much everybody is in here. There's Iron Man in here, there's War Machine, like I said, Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy show up in here. There's also a lot of Spider-Woman in here, who is a character I really enjoyed watching the dynamic between her and Captain Marvel, and I unfortunately have not gotten to read too much about Spider-Woman yet, maybe aside from New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis. I think she's in there, but I read that so long ago I'd have to read it again to really jog my memory about the character. But she's really cool, seems like a lot of fun. I kind of want a Spider-Woman omnibus now. I don't know if that's something that we're slated to get, but if not, Marvel should absolutely release one, because I'm looking forward to reading more about her, and Spider-Verse is coming out, so come on, release more Spider People omnibuses. Alright, I should also mention there are tie-ins in this book that kind of detract from the ongoing for me, really, but that's okay, I guess. They serve their purpose for the greater stories that they're a part of, and that is Infinity. There's tie-ins for Infinity, and then of course, all that with Hickman's run leads into Secret Wars, so there's the Carol Corps storyline in here, which is a Secret Wars tie-in. Oh, and in this book, I love most of the artwork. There's a few various artists that pop up in here, but mostly I really enjoy the artwork from Dexter Soy, who starts the run, and then it seemed like he was there here and there throughout the run, but it becomes not super consistent as the book went on. But yeah, guys, if you are a Captain Marvel fan, then this is pretty much an essential omnibus, and if you are not a Captain Marvel fan but are looking to get into the character because you've heard things about her, you've seen her pop up here and there, but don't really know what's going on in her own book, then I highly recommend this one. I really like the character a lot more than I kind of already did just from seeing her in other things, but this fleshed her out even more for me and added some healthy context. So please let me know your thoughts on this book. Let me know if you're planning on picking it up, and you all have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.